BlackRock's Larry Fink, one of the most powerful Wall Street titans in the world, $11 trillion. BlackRock overseas. They're one of the top 3 shareholders in just about every company you can name. He said the election doesn't really matter for Wall Street and for corporate America. Of course, he's talking about the difference between Trump and Harris doesn't really matter. And I think in that regard, he's right. I don't know if you want to add anything. Is this one of the rare times you agree with Larry Fink?
I think that's true. You know, as Joe Biden said in the 2020 race, he promised Wall Street that nothing will change, and nothing really changed. So, yeah, I think Joe Biden and Larry Fink are on the same page with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
Yeah, basically allowing corporate America to run roughshod over all our lives. And it makes sense that one of the most powerful, richest individuals in the country would think there's not a lot of difference between the two. Also, the New York Times had an expose on you where they we're baffled by the fact that you wouldn't quit and drop out of the race. In fact, it was titled "Jill Stein Won't Stop." What did you think of their article? And did you have any qualms with their take on things?
Truth to tell, I didn't read their article. You know, I knew their article was coming and that it would try to pull out all the stops and smear me from my acquaintances, my friends, my family, that they were really digging deep to try to smear me and intimidate me. And I've been there, done that, seen that, really not interested. You know, I think we're on a crash course right now for an expanding regional, if not global war in the Middle East. We're looking at genocide in the face, looking at just this horrific doubling down in northern Gaza, where some, 100 people were killed just like in the last 48 hours. You know, hospital patients are being targeted, are being denied food and water. Hospitals are told they have to evacuate the sickest patients in the ICUs. You know, we're seeing other footage of hospital patients hooked up to their IVs on fire, literally being burned to death. So, of course, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and their supporters in the mainstream media, they want to change the subject. They want to focus on the horse race. They want to demonize their opponents. They really don't want America paying attention to the horrors that are being committed in our name, with our tax dollars, with our weapons, at a time that the cost of the endless war machine and the genocide, which is kind of a microcosm of empire, it is actually costing us half of our congressional budget. According to Jeffrey Sachs, it's about $12,000 over this past year per household for this endless war machine, the cost of the endless war machine. So, the political elites are doubling down, working overtime to try to deny people their choices, to try to fear campaign and smear campaign and shut down political opposition. That's what they always do. But, the responses to their smears and their fear campaigns hasn't been great. If you look at the reactions, for example, to the ad that they put out, it's posting on social media, is just, full of ridicule. AOC's condescending lecture, it just gets ridiculed and laughed at. The effort to attack us, the ambush against Bush Ware and myself on the Breakfast Club, it's really, it's hysterical. I really encourage people to go there, listen to it, but also read the comments. The comments practically wall to wall. And these are not green platforms. These are largely Democratic Party platforms. You can look at even our recent appearance about 3 weeks ago on Democracy Now! People are overjoyed to hear about our campaign, the fact that we have an answer to the housing crisis, which severely affects half of all Americans right now are really in an economic struggle to keep a roof over their head.
Talk a little more about that. What is the answer?
Oh, man. Well, for one thing, we can implement a federal rent control program right now to stop the skyrocketing of our rents, and evictions and gentrification of our neighborhoods. So we need an emergency rent control program to just stabilize this problem. We need to forbid the buy-up of housing by the private equity corporations that are buying up rental and homeowner housing and sitting on it, keeping it vacant, and just driving up the price of the housing that's on the market.
17 million empty homes in America.
That too. Yeah, absolutely. And we can turn this over. We can also create a vacancy tax so that anybody who's trying to hoard housing and take it off the market, it will be unaffordable to do that. So we can both stop the progression of this buyout and force that housing stock back on the market. But we need to build housing. We need to build out housing, and we call for 15 million units of so-called social housing built along with public transportation, so that we're not adding to the traffic glut. And it's concentrated housing, and it preserves open space around it, because we need green space for our health and for the survival of all the species around us. And how we can jumpstart this, by the way, simply by declaring a climate emergency, which in fact we have. By recognizing that climate emergency, we unleash over $500 billion every year for the Green New Deal. And a major component of the Green New Deal actually is building environmentally sustainable and sound housing. So we actually have the dollars to jumpstart this, to get that housing going. So yeah, there's a lot that we can do that will not be done by the politicians that are bought and paid for by the real estate industry.